I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery, and this is the Alcohol Mastery Podcast. So the question today is how long and what side effects you get after stopping drinking. I've talked about this before in some of the previous podcasts and videos, but it's one of those questions that keeps popping up over and over again, and people keep asking for it. So it's just nice to come at it with a fresh perspective sometimes. So, how long does it take is sort of asking, how long is a piece of string? It depends entirely on you as an individual. Depends how long you've been drinking for, what type of drink you were drinking, how much you were drinking prior to stopping, your age, your weight, your mental state of mind. So many different factors that it's impossible to be able to give you a definitive idea of how long it's going to take for you and how long these side effects are going to last. Now, having said that, when you look at the actual side effects that you're going to go through, you have to, one of the things that I like to sort of tell people is look at what you're going through now before you stop. Look at all the shit that's going on in your life now because you're drinking. You know, you're not asking these questions for no reason. You know, you're not coming to this website. You're not listening to me gabble on for the good of your health. You know, this is, well, you are listening to it for the good of your health, but there's shit going on in your life now because you're drinking, and it's causing you pain. So that pain is driving you towards doing something about it, and you want to know if the pain that you're going to go through afterwards is worth it. And it's 100% worth it, because the pain that you're going to go through afterwards, these so-called symptoms and side effects and cravings and alcohol withdrawal and all that bullshit, that's on a decreasing scale. So you start off with everything on this high level of discomfort because you are just trying to get this thing out of your life, and your expectations are all built up to expect all the baggage and bullshit that goes with alcohol, and what the quit alcohol industry have been telling us for years. And you know, even though you might not have been actively searching out that kind of stuff in the past, subliminally that stuff has been going into your head. So you know, when we sort of see pictures of people in dry out clinics going berserk, you know, and sweating and shaking and going mad for a drink and saying, I can't do this without it, or gobshites on the television who are saying, you know, I'm 5 years after stuff now, but you know, all it takes is one drink and I'd be back onto it again. You know, bollocks. I know that 2.5 years later, I couldn't give a shit about alcohol now. You know, if somebody offered me a drink of alcohol and I drank a pint of beer, the last thing I'd want to do would be to drink another one. The last thing I'd want to do. So I know that one drink fallacy is a pure fallacy, is a bullshit. Now, if you get to 2.5 years down the road and your state of mind, what you're thinking in your head is, all it takes is that one drink and I'm back onto it, then guess what's going to happen? You know? But for me, to have that, I've had a few, when we were away last week, I had a few alcohol-free beers, and it's something that I'm not going to do anymore. And the reason I'm not going to do it anymore is because I started feeling the bodily reaction, not off the alcohol, because there was no alcohol in it, probably a tiny little bit, or whatever it was in it, makes no difference. But it was the actual chemicals and the bubbles or whatever was in that alcohol-free beer just brought me back to some of the reactions that I was getting when I was drinking beer. So I got heartburn, this horrible heartburn, for the first time since I stopped drinking. I haven't had that. You know, I might have had a little bit when I've sort of overdosed on high acidic foods and stuff, but alcohol is really acidic, and it just, I suppose I had about 12 alcohol-free beers in the full week that we were down there. And it just really had an effect on my body, and it just, I brought it back, but I didn't want to do that again. So one of the biggest influences you can have on yourself is how you respond. So your response ability. Now, if you start out with looking at these things like it's going to be bad, everything's going to be shit, it's going to be painful, you're going to have cravings and you can't do it and you can't stand it and all these negative feelings, then the so-called cravings and the side effects, the symptoms, all that kind of stuff are going to elevate. And not because the actual feelings, the actual physical discomfort is going to be any different, because that's not. You know, that's going to be the way it is. But you can take, say like you've got a dial, you know, like it's on an amplifier, and you can whack that dial right up and amplify all those feelings just by feeding it negative thoughts. So, you know, I don't want to get on too much of the woo-woo side of this, the positive and negative energy and all that kind of crap. But it does come down to the way you think about it. You know, if you feed yourself with, if you feed yourself on negative mental images, right? If you, in the back of your head, you see yourself failing, and you see yourself drinking again, and you see yourself as being a drinker, you know, and you sort of turn your back onto your own future, and you look at your own past, and you see that's the only way to go, that's the only way that you can live, that you are this person who is, who drinks 5 pints a night, or who drinks 3 glasses of wine a night, and you can't get that image out of your head, then I'm not saying that you won't succeed in this, but you're making it so much harder on yourself. Whereas if you turn around, you tell your past to fuck off and, you know, leave that behind you, turn your back on your past and look towards your future and see yourself as being a non-drinker, and imagine yourself going to parties and celebrations and Christmas and weddings and all these kind of other things that you never imagined that you could do without drink. Now put yourself into that position and imagine that you are doing that, and you're smiling and you're happy, and people are coming up to you and saying how good you look and how much of a different vibe they're getting off you, how much of a different feeling they're getting off you. You know, that's what you have to fill your head with. If you can do that to yourself, then you'll make everything a lot easier to handle. Coming back to the symptoms and the side effects and the cravings, and, you know, these are all just words, you know, and unfortunately these words come with a lot of background baggage, and it's mainly because they're medical terms, they're associated with hospitals and, you know, going into doctors and feeling shit, you know. So to get back to a point that I was talking about earlier on, if you take the situation that you're in now, the feelings that you're feeling now, the consequences that your body is going through now, all the physical damage that's happened to your body because of all the drinking that you've done, and the mental pain that you're getting because of how your life has been affected. Your life is being affected day after day after day by this drinking that you're doing. And And if you look at that from the perspective of, this is only going to get worse, so the pain on this is going to rise. The more you do this, the more you drink, the more you put this shit into your body, the more your body is going to give you negative consequences. You know, it's going to react badly because your body eventually won't be able to take it. Your body eventually won't be able to fight off the damage. And these consequences are only going to get worse and worse. So the pain level is going to rise. As I said, the pain of quitting, on the other hand, decreases the more you go into this. It's going to start out big, depending on how you look at it, you know. I mean, if you look at it in a positive way, you can sort of go, oh, I'm going to deal with this, you know. This is good, positive discomfort. This is the discomfort that I have to go through in order to get to that next level where I'm at those parties, where I'm at that wedding, I'm at that birthday. I'm going through my life and I'm changing myself and I'm enjoying my life with a smile on my face. No toxins in my body is feeling good, my life is good. So if you can get to that level where you're thinking on that wavelength, where you're contrasting those two aspects, the before and the after, or the now and what will be, you know, your pain of what you're inevitably going to go through if you carry on drinking, and the decreasing discomfort that you'll go through your quit. So whatever you want to call it, I don't call it symptoms, and I try not to call it the side effects or any of that shit. It's discomfort. You know, most of the discomfort is about what's missing out of your life. That fact that alcohol, not even the alcohol, but the alcohol drinking, you know, it takes up a big part of your life, and that's missing now. So it's those holes that you've got to fill, and it's those holes in your life that are going to make you feel the most discomfort. You know, if you've stopped drinking after a heavy night, okay, then the first couple of days are going to be sort of going through your hangover. So you might not even want to drink in your first few days. This is one of the things that crops up time and time again, is that people start off with their quit, and they get loaded the night before, and they go, right, this is the last night, so I'm going to enjoy myself, you know. I'm going to go through this now, so I'm going to go through the pain, so I might as well start it off with a bang. So they load themselves up with alcohol, and they wake up the next morning with a stinking hangover. And for the first couple of days, it's easy because they don't want to drink. They have this thing in their head that they're quitting anyway, but they also have the added sickness underneath and the alcohol poisoning that is keeping them away from it. And it's giving them that spur, that motivation to go through it. But once they get over that first day or 2 days or whatever it is that the hangover lasts, and they start feeling normal again, then the old feelings come back, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe I'm not, you know, this is not a good time to quit. You know, I'm not ready for it yet. I'm not in the right frame of mind to do this yet. I'm not strong enough to do this yet. You know, if you think like that, you're never going to be in the right frame of mind to do it, because the alcohol is always going to be carrying you back. You know, alcohol doesn't make you strong. It only weakens your resolve. It only weakens your body, your mind, all of it. So if you're looking for the right time to stop drinking, you're never going to find it that way. Personally, I didn't, when I quit drinking, I didn't go through that big hangover phase, because I'd really cut down on the beer or the drink, the alcohol in general, before I stopped. By the time I did stop, I hated it. I mean, I literally hated not the alcohol, but what it had done to me. I'd come to that conclusion. I'd seen the damage. You know, my son had just gone home, and I was sort of miserable about just where I was at that moment. I could see myself very clearly, and I could see where alcohol had sort of brought me. Now, I hadn't got a clue about where I was going to go. I had some ideas, but I didn't really have any clear vision, but I knew that I just wanted to get alcohol. I had to get alcohol out of my life, whatever it took. And I was scared. But the point is that when I did stop, for those last couple of days, I didn't really have a lot to drink. The last day was the 1st of January. So I quit on the 2nd. And I remember being around at my sister. She had a New Year's Day dinner, and she set it all up in her house. All the family were around, and they were all celebrating. And I had 2 glasses of wine. And in fact, I didn't even finish the 2nd glass of wine. I just wanted to crack on and get on with it. So by the time I did quit on the next day, on the 2nd of January, I didn't have a hangover to go through. I was buzzing about sort of getting on with the journey and just taking it as it came. You know, as I said, I was afraid of a lot of what was going to happen. I wasn't sure, mostly how I was going to deal with other people in my life. How I was going to still maintain being myself, my own personal self-image. And, I've subsequently realized that all that's got to change. You can't hold on to any of that stuff. Anything that relates back to your drinking self and how you see your drinking self, you just can't have that anymore. That's got to flush that down the toilet. Wish it was that simple. It's not that simple. It takes time, and this is the thing that sort of drags people back time and time again, is because they're being held back by their own images of themselves, that they see themselves as being drinkers, and they see themselves as living life with alcohol there, and they can't see that, they can't have that amicable divorce, or whatever way you have to divorce yourself from alcohol. It's got to happen, and you've got to sort of go your separate ways. It's as simple as that. So what it all boils down to is the more preparation you can do with your head beforehand, the more you can prepare yourself to respond positively to everything that happens to you. The more you can see the things that are happening to you in those first few days, not as symptoms or side effects or cravings or anything negative like that, but as discomforts and stepping stones into your new life. You've got to take these stepping stones. Sometimes they're a little bit slippery and you might sort of stumble a little bit, but these are the things that are going to take you forwards. So prepare beforehand. Do as much preparation as you can in your physical world by getting rid of a lot of the triggers and the things that are reminding you of alcohol, and do a lot of work in your head, like I said, to try and to push yourself in a positive direction and push yourself in that into the mental frame of mind that you're going into something much better than what you're leaving behind. That what you're leaving behind is just shit. It's bullshit that's been programmed into you over years, and it's not serving you any good. It's only going to lead you down a path of ever increasing pain and suffering in your life, and not only in your life but in the lives of other people around you. I mean, it still kills me now that I was responsible for causing my son to drink. A lot of it's to do with the culture, a lot of it's to do with other forces and his free will. I know that, but when it all boils down to it, I'm his dad, and I should have been more aware of what I was doing, and should have been more aware of what I was doing to myself. So, that's in the past. I can do what I can do from now on, and that's the only thing that I can do. But going back to the pain, if you stay drinking and if you focus on the past and you look back to what you're missing, and you're not ready for this divorce, and you're sort of forced into this split up of this relationship between you and the alcohol because the alcohol is causing you all this damage, and you have to get rid of it because otherwise you're going to die or you're going to whatever, then it's not a good place to be. You've got to say, look, It's a bad partner, you know. Alcohol is a bad partner. Piss off, you know. Go away. I don't want you anymore, you know. So turn your back on your past. Head into the future, looking at your own bright future and the possibilities for your future and you being happy in the future. Instead of focusing on you being happy in the past. Because, you know you weren't happy in the past. I mean, drink is only a false friend. I mean, what does it do for you? It sort of cons you into thinking that you're happy when at the end of the day, all drink does is retard your brain. You know, it's making you into a retard before, you know, when you shouldn't be that way. You should be living your life to its fullest. And what you're doing? Poisoning yourself. Poisoning your brain, poisoning your thoughts, poisoning your life, poisoning the lives of those around you. You know, if you look at this like this, look at your past like this, look at your drinking like this, look at every drop of alcohol that you're drinking or that you are thinking about drinking, and look at that as not being fun, not being, you know, relaxing or stress reducing or whatever, but as poisonous shite that is, every time you put it into your body, it's leading you down this path of further misery. So, look forward into your new future. Contrast to your future with your past, and look at your future with positive eyes and your past with the negativity, if you have to look at your past with any negativity. See the symptoms and side effects as not as symptoms and side effects of quitting drinking, but as the discomfort that you have to push through in order to get to that new life. And it's only a small, in comparison, it's only a small, tiny little bit of discomfort that you've got to go through, rather than the weeks or months or years that you're going to inevitably go through. Ever increasing discomfort and pain and suffering if you continue drinking. You know, look at that little tiny bit, because that's all it is. You know, you get through the first few days, and then you get through your first week, and then you go on to your first month. And by the time you get to that first month, your body is really, your mind is really bringing you out of the habit. You know, you've already starting to develop other habits. And that's what it's all about, is replacing the old habit with a new habit. If you leave the hole and you don't replace it with anything, which is nearly impossible, by the way, but if you do that, then you're always going to be craving this thing because it's always there. There's something missing out of your life. So you've got to sort of fill those holes, those gaps in your life with something that you want to do. You know, if you fill it with, you can fill it with chocolate. You can fill it with another drug. You know, you can fill it with sitting down watching soaps or sitting down watching porn. It's up to you what you fill it with. But if you fill it with something positive, you know, I don't know what's positive for you. I mean, for me, it's walking, it's reading, it's learning new stuff. It's going away on holidays and remembering the holidays and saving up my money for going away on holidays and for doing things with my family. That's the positive things that I have filled the gaps with, but they were always the things that I wanted, but that I always stopped myself from getting because there was this drinking passion in my mind that always wanted to infiltrate those things. So every time I went away on holidays, the drinking wanted to infiltrate the holiday and the drunkenness wanted to infiltrate. So it was like, yeah, I want to be away on holidays and I want to be with this person and I want to be with these people and I want to enjoy myself with these people. But at the same time, I really want to get drunk, you know. I really want to build my business up, but I really want to get drunk. I really want to get drunk. You know, that kind of thing, it doesn't work with each other. I mean, you know that yourself. You know it doesn't work. It's It's easy for me to say it now on this side, 2.5 years later. It's easy for me to say that now. And I understand that when you're sort of deciding to quit, that it can be a massive thing, that, you're dragging yourself away from something that has been such a big part of your life. But that's just something that you've got to do. And it's not as daunting as it might seem. It's only ever a step-by-step approach. If you look at the big picture and you go, oh, Jesus, how am I going to get to that, to be able to go and being confident where I can go to parties and go to this place and that place without having a drink, and I can live my life without having a drink. How am I going to ever get to that stage? If you look at that big gap, then of course there's a huge, insurmountable thing that you've got to overcome. But it doesn't work like that. It works moment by moment. You deal with life as it comes along. That's what I'm saying. The ability to respond only happens in the moment. You can't respond in the future. You can't respond a year down the line and go, well, this is how I'm going to do this. You can think about that, but the only time you can actually do this is now. I like to think about things now when I want to do something and I'm fearful of doing something. I put myself into the position in my head first, and I go through these mental rehearsals in my brain, and it really does help. It helps it puts yourself, your mind sort of can't tell the difference, when you really get into this and you really visualize this future self, or, this situation. Like, for instance, if you want to say no, you're wondering about how you're going to say no to these people, put yourself into that position in your brain and see them coming up to you with all these things. Oh, yes, what are you doing? Quitting drinking and, have a drink, life's too short for not having, all the bullshit that is going to happen. And put yourself into that position and just visualize yourself saying no, and do it over and over again. And honest to God, your brain does not know the difference. You know the difference. And it's a weird thing that happens. You sort of get used to it in your own, how do I say this? It's like because you're practicing it in your brain, when you do something over and over and over again, you practice, and they say practice makes perfect, all that kind of stuff, right? You do something over and over, and you just get good at it. That's exactly what's happening in this instance. Your brain sort of just gets you onto that level, takes you over to that next place. That's exactly what happens. Your brain is taking you from being a complete novice into being a little bit of an expert. There's so many people. Michael Phelps, the famous swimmer from Australia. Was it Australia or whatever? There's so many people who do this. Athletes do this. Michael Phelps was one of the people who did it. He sort of could visualize himself swimming and doing his laps and doing them perfectly, and beating people by hundredths of a second or something like that. But anyway, I'm going off kilter here, so I'll go back to the main point of the podcast, which was the symptoms and the side effects. How long would they last, and what you're going to have? And I can't tell you, but you can really affect what you're going to feel, how you're going to feel, how long they're going to feel. You can affect if they're going to last a week or they're going to last for the rest of your life, because there's people that go to AA, and believe me, their symptoms are going to last for the rest of their lives. They're going to think in their own head that they're alcoholics for the rest of their lives. And it's all because they're allowing somebody else to fill their head with those stupid facts, they're not even facts. That they're allowing somebody else to fill their head with these ideas that, alcoholism is a disease, and they're just people who've got this disease called alcoholism. And then when they go to the meetings, they're just filled time and time again with the same thing. Somebody stands up and goes, "How you doing? My name's Kevin. I'm an alcoholic." So to round this all up, look towards your future instead of your past. Focus on the positive things that are going to happen to you in your future instead of your past. Look at yourself in the future as being that person that you want to be, instead of looking back at the person that you used to be, because that's the person you want to try and get away from. Contrast your future to what's happening now. Contrast the discomfort that you're going to go through, the small discomfort that you're going to go through in the future, in your personal little future as you quit drinking, to the ever-increasing discomfort and pain and suffering that you're going to go through if you don't stop drinking. Don't look at these things like symptoms or side effects or cravings. Look at it as discomfort, because that's all it is discomfort. As a caveat, because I'm going to get someone who's going to say to me, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not an alcoholic. And for a start, I'm not an alcoholic, right? I've had people, with the same. There's this thing where I've had on the especially on YouTube, where people come on and say to me, yeah, you were never really an alcoholic. You didn't do this and you didn't do that. When I quit, I went through this, that, and the other. I was in hospital for 2 weeks and I nearly died and all this kind of stuff. What do you want me to say? It's like it's cause and effect, right? If you had to go into hospital for 2 weeks, you've either done so because you caused so much fucking damage to your body through all the alcohol that you drank that your body just couldn't take it. When I was drinking, I used to get up in the morning and do my day's work because I had a family to feed. I had responsibilities that I had to do. And these were things that I had to do. These were overriding things that just had to be done. Now, I was sort of fortunate enough, whatever way you look at it, in that I owned my own business and I could take off days here and there. I could take off a week here and there and it wouldn't really affect the bottom line. So I'd still be able to earn enough money to pay the bills and to carry on the lifestyle that I was going. Now, this was a very bad long-term strategy because, I wasn't building the business. I was sort of wrecking it at the same time, but that's for another day. But the point is that when I was drinking, I couldn't get up in the morning and drink, and I never really had that in my head to do that, that was always, to me, was alcoholic behavior, that was my version of alcoholic behavior. So I didn't want to do that. I never drank spirits, very rarely. So I always drank beer, and you can only drink so much beer, at a push, I would drink 30 pints. At a real push, that was solidly at the end of my tether, and it was purely and basically because I couldn't fit any more in, and then I'd be pissed out of my brains. I wouldn't be able to walk after that, seriously. But that was the extent of my drinking. So I had this sort of double life, it was my life where I had to work, had to do the things that I needed to do, and then there was the drinking side of me. And, sometimes the two parts get mixed up. But the point that I'm trying to make is that if you get up in the morning and the first thing you do is get a drink. Now, I've known people that have done that. I've known people that have wasted their lives and busted businesses because, I knew a guy who ran an optician years ago, and he used to have a bottle of vodka underneath the counter in his small optician's office, and he'd drink this all day long. And he eventually stopped drinking, because he lost everything. And I knew him after the opticians and all this kind of stuff when he was sort of on his arse. But anyway, if you get up and that is your life, you drink, and you drink the hard stuff, you drink spirits, then the consequences of that are going to be much more severe than what I ever went through. The consequences are going to be, I can't imagine that, I can't imagine what the human body must be going through on a day-to-day basis as you're drinking this shit. As you're going through this and you're knocking this stuff back and your body is just in this fucking fight for life. I just, it boggles the mind. And, to get yourself into that position, I don't know how, my brain is not on that wavelength at all. So when you give up the booze, of course, your body is going to have a fucking serious reaction to this. Of course it is. And me saying to you, yeah, it's all in the head, man. You just you gotta fight through it. It's mind over matter. That's not going to make any difference to you. You need hospitalization, and not because of the alcohol, because of all the shit that you've done to yourself, because of your body is just this big, mad mess. You're going to need hospitalization either way. If you carry on drinking or you stop drinking, you're at the stage where you need hospitalization. So, me saying to you, or you listening to me and me going to you, well, you can do this and, you don't need to go to the doctors and stuff. It's not meant for you. This is meant for people who have got alcohol in their lives and are in the same sort of similar position as me. Now, you can do all your macho stuff and go, you were never an alcoholic. I used to do that, going back to the days when I was drinking, when I first started drinking, 2 or 3 pints and I'd be pissed. And my mates around me would be going, yeah, dickhead. I can drink 10 pints. I can drink 20 pints before I get to your state. You're only a sissy. And fair enough, as you're growing up, this is the thing that sort of got me into drinking a lot of beer, was because I didn't want to be a sissy, I wanted to be a man. So how do you be a man? By drinking 10 pints or 20 pints. That's how you be a man. So that's sort of a similar thing what's going on with these comments, this guy, you were never really an alcoholic. You never went through this or that or the other, No, I didn't. But most people won't go through that, It's the small minority of people what kind of a life do you have, right, in order to get up in the morning and to drink yourself all day long like that? So when you do quit, that actually quitting drinking is putting you into the fucking hospital, or quitting drinking is actually as you're risking your life by quitting drinking. I mean, how bad do you have to be? How much alcohol do you have to actually shove into your body to be able to get yourself to do that? Now, I know that I was on that level, heading towards that place, because the hangovers are starting to last longer. You're starting to crave more alcohol. Your body starts to tolerate more and more alcohol. It's a drug. For the alcohol companies to say, yeah, look, if you stay at 2 drinks, you're all right. That's bullshit, because they know it's a drug. They know that, you stay at 2 drinks for a year. Those 2 drinks at the end of that year are not going to give you the same buzz as the 2 drinks at the first of the year, right? So 10 years down the road, 2 drinks are not going to, so unless you can actually get into that mentality, unless you're in that mentality of just drinking to socializing, you're really socializing and you don't really like alcohol, you're not drinking it for the drink, but you're drinking it for the socializing and to mix in, then that philosophy is not going to work, that stick to 2 drinks. If you like drinking, you're going to eventually go to that level where you're either going to get to a level where you've got to stop that. This is not good for you, which is what most people are who come to this site are at. They're at that level where they're going, oh yeah, well I'm drinking every day now, but they're not drinking those big amounts of alcohol anymore. They're not drinking that massive quantities. I realized that in order for me, there was 2 ways I was going to go in this thing. I was either going to stop drinking, or I was going to carry on with what I was doing. There was, that's basically it. There was no moderation. Couldn't moderate. Every time I moderated, or I would be able to, if I carried on drinking, that was going to be the sort of thing where, you stop for a little while, you go back onto it, but you drink a bit more than you were before you stopped. So, it was a never-ending cycle of, and although I could never see myself being in that person where I get up in the morning and drink, although I'd done it a few times, but I never liked it. I could never visualize me being a spirit drinker, getting up and taking a swig out of the bottle of whiskey or the bottle of vodka or whatever. I can easily see where my body would push me to that level, where the hangovers were getting that bad that I had to have a drink in the morning. But at the same time, do you not actually, most sane people get to a stage in the drinking lives, when they see that their drinking is completely fucking up their normal life, So the alcohol is just ruining them, So where is that stage, And these people who are on this far end of the scale, where they have to go into hospital and they have to go in to get treatment, where they can't quit without risk of dying. I mean, they're so far over on that length that, I've gone off into a total tangent here, yeah. Side effects, cravings, all that kind of stuff. If you are a similar drinker to what I was, the side effects and the symptoms, try and be as positive as you can. Don't look at them like they're going to be side effects or symptoms or cravings or anything like that. Look at them as they're going to be discomfort. Look at the future as being bright, the past as being whatever you want the past, but turn your back on it. This is what you're leaving behind. Look forward into your future and just visualize yourself being the most positive future that it can be for you. So if you realize the fact that before you quit drinking, the relief that you get from the actual drink, from the drunkenness, the consequence to that is that the pain will be ever so slightly amplified. Ever so slightly. You won't notice the difference, but there will be a difference. Every time you drink, it's going to be ever so slightly amplified, and then again and again and again, and it's going to keep rising. The discomfort will keep rising. It'll build and build and build. The more you drink, the more the damage accumulates, the more the discomfort accumulates. On the other hand, when you stop the drinking, you stop the flow of the alcohol, you cut it off altogether. You face into your future, away from the alcohol, you look at a positive future for yourself. That discomfort is going to go less. The discomfort comes in many different forms. You might have shakes, you might have headaches, you might have sleeplessness. The biggest part of the discomfort is going to be the holes that you've got to fill. All dependent on you, what you fill those holes with. You fill them with positive, healthy things, or you can fill them with more negative shit. It's up to you, but fill them with positive, healthy things, and you're just going to pull yourself into a much better life than you are now. And there was many parts of my life that were brilliant before I stopped drinking, and are still brilliant now. There's many parts of my life that stunk when I was drinking. And, I've still got parts of my life that I want to change that I don't like. But I have a clear head now. I can think better. I can think better about things. And think more clearly about where I want to go. I can think more clearly because of where I am now. Because of the person that I am without my mind being poisoned by alcohol. I mean, your mind is everything. Your mind is your personal cockpit. This is where everything is done. Every decision that you ever make in your life, every movement that you make, everything that you are starts out in your mind. And if your mind is continuously being filled with this chemical that is directly interfering with your thoughts, every thought that you ever take is being sort of not manipulated, but it's being interfered with by this poison, then, you know, how can you do anything positive? How can you get the best out of yourself? Let's put it like that. If you're dumping shit into your body, and it's the same thing with nutrition. I mean, you know, I've realized this in the last, that, you know, you are what you eat, and physically and mentally, everything that you put into your system, everything you eat, everything you drink, becomes a part of who you are. Becomes a part of your brain. It becomes a part of, you know, your skin changes itself. What is it, every 28 days or something like that? Your liver, I can't remember this, but your skin, your liver, your lungs, your skeleton, all these are continuously and consistently renewing themselves. So what you put inside your body is the building blocks that your body has to use to rebuild these things. So if you're putting bad shit into your body, then, you know, well, guess what's going to happen? Diverting again. Have to stick to a script. Anyway, that's enough for today. I hope you got something out of this mad ramble of mine. If you've got any questions at all, then you can go over to the website and leave a comment. Send me an email at kevin@alcoholmastery.com. I really enjoy doing this stuff. I'm sort of buzzing at it now. So I've got to stop, otherwise this is going to be too long. So until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for Alcohol Mastery. Onwards and upwards. Good luck.